Welcome to We On Podcast, where we explore fascinating stories and ideas from various fields. In this episode, we dive into the mystery of two suns in Florida's sky, a surreal sight with a shockingly simple explanation. A strange sunset seen in Florida this weekend left residents questioning reality. The fireball appeared extremely weird, taking on a dark red and orangish hue on May 31st. People were baffled to see the sun look like a cutout and donning strange colors. Photos posted on social media show a bizarre sun and have attracted several comments. People called it out as proof that we are living in a simulation, with another saying that the matrix seems to be broken. Another user posted a similar picture of the sun taken in Ohio the day before that. In some photos, the sun looks dark red, while in others, it looks misty white and red. Some pictures also appeared to show two suns. A few people on social media even thought that they were looking at Mars because of its bright red hue. However, the phenomenon has a perfect explanation. According to meteorologists, the sun can project such colors in certain conditions. In this particular case, the reason was the smoke generated by the Canadian wildfire. This is a rare atmospheric phenomenon and can also happen in places where there is heavy pollution. Andrew Stutsky told WQAD News 8 that when smoke reaches the upper atmosphere, such an effect is created. He added that the visible light spectrum is affected because of smoke. Normally we can see orange, yellows and greens, but wildfire smoke blocks the shorter wavelengths, that is, green, blue, indigo and violet. So you are left with red, yellow and orange, and that is what people could see in Florida. Meanwhile, the second sun effect was the result of light scattering through smoke. Records suggest that similar incidents have been seen in the past as well. A double sunset was described by Dr. Robert Plot in 1686. Loeb told Newsweek, "The retrograde orbital plane of 3I Atlas around the Sun lies within 5 degrees of that of Earth. The likelihood of that coincidence out of all random orientations is 0.2%. However, other experts have quashed his claims, saying there is nothing that points to it being an alien probe. The comet has traveled from another star system. Scientists have said that it is probably even older than our solar system. It could have taken it billions of years to get here. But Loeb thinks that 3I Atlas is so large that it is extremely unlikely it could have naturally taken this journey to reach us. The comet is traveling at 60 kilometers per second, and Loeb claims that there is no natural cosmic process that would let it travel in this manner towards the inner solar system. He told Mail Online, "An alternative is that the object targets the inner solar system by some technological design." After the object was spotted for the first time, scientists noted its extremely elliptical orbit and high speed, and both of them pointed to its origins lying outside the solar system. 3I Atlas has come from the constellation Sagittarius and is heading towards the inner solar system. Its closest approach to the Sun is expected on October 30th, when it will be 210 million kilometers from our star. That is somewhere around the orbit of Mars. It is not expected to reach Earth. The sheer size of the interstellar visitor also hints that it is not a natural object, Loeb says. Right now, it is 490 million kilometers from Earth. Its size has been measured based on the amount of light it reflects. This calculation states that it is around 20 to 24 kilometers in diameter. It is 200 times larger than Oumuamua, the thin and 100-meter-long interstellar visitor that took a trip to the solar system in 2017. Loeb doesn't think an object of this size can travel all the way here without dying out. He told Mail Online that there are about 1 million objects on the scale of Oumuamua for each object that is 24 kilometers in size. But we haven't seen 1 million Oumuamua-sized interstellar objects before seeing this one. It's very strange, he pointed out. Loeb has even written a paper that will be published by the research notes of the AAS, detailing the scenarios that can facilitate such a mammoth object to reach our solar system. He used previous data to calculate how many objects of this size could exist in the Milky Way. He multiplied this number by the mass of 3I Atlas, and the results made zero sense. He says there is not enough mass to make ample rocks of this size. This means that 3I Atlas is a lot rarer than its appearance in our solar system suggests. Since there aren't a lot of similar objects floating around, it seems strange that one that does is aiming for our inner solar system, Loeb said. The Harvard physicist also dismissed the comet theory, saying there is no direct evidence of dust or gas being released by the object. The reddening caused by dust is how it was concluded to be a comet. Loeb says this could be simply because the object is red.
Hello there, welcome to WION Wild as One. We are glad you're watching. Thank you for staying with us. I'm Eric Njoka. The headlines at this hour. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu tells United Nations to stop blaming his government for the humanitarian situation in Gaza after the military opened up routes, says there will be no more excuses. Thousands of Israelis marched towards the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv to demand a ceasefire deal in Gaza that will secure the safe return of all hostages still held in the Palestinian territory. Thailand's acting Prime Minister Phantom Wechayachai and Cambodia's Prime Minister Hun Manet will meet on Monday in Malaysia for peace talks over their border conflicts. Talks will be hosted by Malaysian Prime Minister and ASEAN Chair Anwar Ibrahim.
Товарищ Верховно-Главнокомандующий вооруженными силами, в честь вашего прибытия построен начальник караула лейтенант Шомс.
Russian President Vladimir Putin marks Russia's Navy Day in St. Petersburg, greeted by honor guards. Russian Defense Minister and naval officials. Navy parade features a flotilla of warships and military vessels sailing down the Neva River. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits the iconic Gangaikonda Cholapuram temple in Tamil Nadu, pays tribute to the legacy of the Chola dynasty. The visit coincides with the birth anniversary of Rajendra Chola I. Severe flooding in Beijing and parts of northern China triggered by heavy rainfall overnight. Roads and communication cut off on the outskirts of the Chinese capital. Many countries in Europe are scorching under devastating wildfires that have been now burning for days now. From Turkey to Albania and Greece to France, firefighters are working round the clock to douse the flames and contain the damage. Excuse me for that. Starting with Turkey, wildfires intensified overnight and are now threatening its fourth largest city, Bursa, leading to 13 deaths and forcing 1,765 evacuations. Over 1,100 firefighters are tirelessly battling the flames, which have also led to the closure of the highway linking Bursa to the capital Ankara. Lessening winds since morning have offered some respite to firefighters. Well, these are the visuals of large swathes of forests burned to ashes where farms and pine trees once stood. In Greece's neighboring Mediterranean island, Cyprus, 2 people have been killed. The fires, described as the worst of the island in more than half a century, have devastated large tracts of southern Cyprus, injuring dozens of people and displacing hundreds. An estimated 250 firefighters are battling to contain the blazes raging on multiple fronts. Greece is battling 5 major wildfires across the country. Officials are continuously evacuating residents in the most hard-hit region, just 25 kilometers north of capital city Athens. Visuals show local firefighters helping residents battle the flames. The ongoing emergency comes amid a severe heat wave with high winds and scorching temperatures fanning the flames. Greece has formally requested assistance from the EU Civil Protection Mechanism for 6 additional firefighting aircraft. 10 wildfires are raging on in Albania's southwestern Riviera coast. Thousands of hectares of forest and green areas have been charred, with some homes destroyed. Over 1,000 firefighters and emergency personnel have been deployed to battle the flames. Kosovo is also seeing strong winds fueled by widespread wildfires, with authorities managing to extinguish 17 blazes while 12 others remain active. The devastating wildfires have swept through the villages in southern Kosovo, causing significant damage to property and livestock. In southern France, firefighters are currently tackling a wildfire which has spread across more than 600 hectares and is forcing the evacuation of 2 campsites and some local homes. While the blaze is mostly under control, some regions continue to smolder.
We can say that the fire is under control, but there are still some areas smouldering that the unit will have the job of gradually putting out. All the little red blazes you see in the night, their job will be to put them out so that tomorrow morning, when the wind picks up to 90 km/h, things will be okay again.
That heat that Jaden's talking about is not exactly helping firefighters battling wildfires in our state. There are now 2 new wildfires burning in southwest Colorado that are forcing evacuations. We know the western half of the state has really been the center of all the fires that have erupted over the past month here. Officials say the Elkhorn fire and the Rim Road fire were started last night in La Plata County. The Elkhorn fire is about 145 acres, burning about 13 miles north of the town of Durango. It started as a structure fire before it spread into the San Juan National Forest. Still no containment at this time. There's no reported size or containment for the Rim Road fire right now. Officials say it's burning in the Southern Ute Indian Reservation.
Right, let's get to some breaking news. Authorities say at least 4 people have been killed and several others injured in a train derailment in southwestern Germany. The incident happened near the town of Riedlingen in the state of Baden-Württemberg. The passenger train came off the tracks and carriages overturned. The crash followed a storm in the area. Police say around 100 people were on board. Germany's railways have faced widespread criticism in recent years over underinvestment in rail infrastructure. For more on this, let's speak to DW political correspondent Julia Saudeli. Hello, Julia. What more do we know about the incident?
Yeah, so the incident happened to a regional train that was traveling through a quite rural area in southwest Germany, about 150 kilometers west of Munich. And according to reports on the ground, the train, to the head of the train, went off the tracks veering towards the left. And at least 2 of the carriages were derailed. One of them completely overturned. We've seen these images of this overturned carriage. And according to authorities, there are several people who have lost their life in this incident, and there are reported dozens of injured, some of them severely. And the scene appears to be dramatic. There have been reports of screams being heard coming from the people trapped inside the train before they were freed. And the incident happened while after and during heavy rainfall was hitting the region, and investigators are now trying to figure out whether that may have played a role in this derailment.
Right, rather unfortunate incident there. But as we said, several people are confirmed to have been killed. What is happening with the other passengers on the train?
Yes, so according to an interview that the Interior Minister of Baden-Württemberg gave to German newspaper Bild, the Interior Minister was on the ground and he said that at the moment all of the people who were inside the train have been evacuated from the carriages, but that now it is necessary to look underneath the overturned carriages and the derailed carriages to make sure that no passengers have ended up underneath the train. And in the meantime, helicopters have been transporting the injured to hospitals in the area. And it certainly, it's been dubbed a mass casualty event. So hospitals in the area are preparing to welcome a big number of injured, some of them severely, as we've said.
Right. DW political correspondent Julia Saudeli. Thank you.
Ja, ik zie het.
Okay, ciao.
Six people have died in a stampede in the Mansa Devi temple in Uttarakhand's Haridwar. The stampede occurred on the staircases on the road leading to the temple. Prime Minister Modi expressed deep sadness over the incident. In a post on social media, Modi extended condolences to those who lost their loved ones. He also wished the injured a fast recovery, while adding that the local administration is assisting those affected. Earlier, Uttarakhand Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami also expressed deep distress over the stampede. Dhami on social media said that it is extremely distressing to receive such news of a stampede, adding that SDRF, local police and other rescue teams have reached the site and are engaged in rescue and relief operations. He said he is in constant contact with the local administration regarding the matter and the situation is being monitored closely.
A Catholic church in the town of Komanda in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo's Ituri province shattered on Sunday by an attack that is believed to have been carried out by Islamic State-backed rebels. Dozens of people were killed when suspected members of the Allied Democratic Forces armed with machetes and guns entered the church. Several houses and shops were also burned down, and with many people missing, the search for bodies continues. The attack took place as Catholic Christians attended a prayer vigil at the church run by the Caritas charity. A civil society coordinator in Komanda called for a military intervention as soon as possible, as the assailants are reportedly still near the town. The United Nations mission in the DRC has condemned a recent resurgence in violence in the province.
A birth control pill designed for men that temporarily pauses the production of sperm, no hormones required, passed its first safety trial. The groundbreaking birth control drug is spurring optimism it could soon be ready to launch a new era of contraception. It could be a game changer, considering studies show the rate of unintended pregnancies is nearly 50% nationwide. Contraception for women is offered in many different ways, including implants, injections, devices, and drugs, while vasectomies are the only reversible birth control option for men currently that has approval from federal regulators. But the effectiveness of the procedures varies for each individual and the success rate diminishes over time. Condoms are abundant, but recent findings show men are increasingly abandoning their use. A number of reversible male birth control options with promising results are only available with hormones and carry a greater risk of side effects and are still undergoing trials. The new treatment represents hope for a better alternative. It comes in the form of a pill called YCT529 that is now part of a larger clinical trial. Health professionals believe the pill may be ready for market in just a few years. The study of the drug involved testing on male mice. Researchers say giving the mice a pill had a 99% success rate in preventing pregnancy. Similar findings were discovered in male primates within a couple of weeks. The first human trial involved 16 healthy men. The ultimate goal of that trial wasn't to test how successful the drug is, but rather to find out how well it's tolerated and processed by the body. Following multiple doses of the pill, the men showed no signs of negative side effects. It's a landmark discovery considering hormonal contraceptives have previously been linked to mood swings, loss of sex drive, weight gain, and acne.
In our opinion, hormones are outdated. It's just a technology from a different era. Yes, they are effective, but they come with too much baggage. And society, I think, is ready for something new.
The pill is currently being tested in a larger clinical trial with men over the age of 50 who either have had vasectomies or decide not to be fathers. President Trump isn't just calling out the press, he's taking them to court and collecting. This week, Trump announced a $36 million settlement with Paramount, saying it's part of a broader fight to hold the media accountable for what he calls widespread fraud and deceit, and he's putting them on notice. The dispute centers on a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris from the 2024 campaign, a segment Trump says was deceptively edited. Paramount agreed to pay $16 million, with another $20 million expected in advertising and programming, according to Trump. And now he's warning other networks, calling out CNN, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal. Quote, the days of them being allowed to deceive the American people are over. ABC News settled first in December, $15 million over a segment on This Week. The war of words seemingly escalated this week after ABC's The View co-host Joy Behar took a swipe at Trump, saying he's only going after former President Barack Obama because he's jealous.
And he's so jealous of Obama because Obama is everything that he is not.
The White House didn't stay quiet. A spokesperson fired back in a statement to Fox News, calling Behar a loser with Trump derangement syndrome. They also took a shot at the show's ratings, saying she should check her own jealousy before The View gets pulled off the air. In response to The View, FCC Chairman Brendan Carr told Fox News there will be consequences for what he called media gatekeepers, and he says Trump isn't alone in this fight.
President Trump is reflecting where the American people are. The American people simply do not trust these institutions anymore. It's the erosion of trust that undermines the business case for these institutions.
Carr has been leading reviews into broadcast content, network debates, and corporate policies at media giants like Disney and Paramount.
For consumers already paying record prices at the meat counter, the latest cattle data offers little relief. As of July 1st, the U.S. cattle inventory stood at its lowest mid-year since records began in 1973. Feedlot placements, a key indicator of future beef supply, has plunged to its lowest levels since 2017. Years of hard liquidation driven by persistent drought, high feed costs and tight margins have left the beef industry in short supply. Despite improved pasture conditions, the USDA reports little evidence of active herd rebuilding. The shrinking supply is pushing retail beef prices to new highs. Ground beef prices jumped 10.3% year-on-year in June this year. Steak prices rose 12.4% in the same period. Analysts are saying beef numbers for reproduction continue to decline. Experts estimate that even if herd rebuilding begins now, a full recovery in supply may not arrive before 2028 or 2029. Meanwhile, beef remains the second most consumed meat in the United States, especially during summer grilling season. Additional pressure is mounting from policy and climate challenges. A major drought in 2022 forced mass sales of breeding stock, weakening long-term supply. Feed costs remain high, further squeezing rancher profits. On the trade front, President Trump's proposed 50% tariff on Brazilian beef imports threatens to restrict one of America's top beef sources, Brazil's beef exports to the US rose 20% in May and now make up nearly 8% of domestic consumption. As prices climb, consumers are turning to alternatives like pork and chicken, prompting major food companies and fast food chains to diversify offerings.
Anti-ICE protests are planned for major cities across the nation tomorrow, including here in New York.
This follows the recent video released by an immigration group that appears to show the conditions inside the ICE facility at Federal Plaza. And that's where Zania Maldonado is joining us from this morning with a look at what tomorrow's plans, what we expect them to be and look like. Zania?
Doug and Elaine, well, we're here at Federal Plaza this morning because it's areas just like this that organizers say they plan to protest, areas that include detention centers, immigration courts, federal buildings. These protests are happening in response to recent actions from ICE. This is set to happen around noon tomorrow, and then another round of demonstrations are expected to take place later in the evening. Now, this is all happening while Mayor Eric Adams is seeking changes to the city sanctuary laws after the Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against the city last Thursday, claiming the city sanctuary policies amount to a, quote, intentional effort to obstruct federal immigration enforcement. Mayor Adams says he thinks it's important to have sanctuary laws to protect undocumented individuals, but that modifications are necessary to go after people who commit crimes. However, he is facing fierce resistance from city council as members seek to stop him from expanding the role of ICE agents in the city. Last week, video provided by the New York Immigration Coalition showed what it looks like inside an ICE processing center here at Federal Plaza. It's an area members of Congress say they've been trying to access for weeks as they've been hearing complaints that immigrants are allegedly being held there for days under deplorable conditions. Now, tomorrow's protests are expected to be taking place in major cities throughout the U.S., but organizers are stressing that they want these demonstrations to be non-violent. We are live this morning
from There is a desperate warning from Gaza where more than 100,000 children, including 40,000 infants, now face imminent death due to complete lack of baby formula and nutritional supplements. Palestinian Authority in Gaza has called it a massacre in slow motion, accusing Israel of starving the Strip's youngest residents. In a heartbreaking scene, mothers unable to find food are being forced to feed their babies only water. Hospitals, meanwhile, are seeing a daily surge in cases of severe, life-threatening malnutrition. At least 127 people have died of starvation in Gaza since March this year, 85 of them children, as medical facilities collapse and food supplies vanish. The Palestinian Authority is demanding urgent international intervention, calling this a deliberate extermination campaign against children. It says global silence now equates to complicity, aiding what it calls a looming crime against humanity.
The two sons have cerebral palsy. I can't even find milk or nappies for them because of rise of prices in Gaza, which led to malnourishment in both children. I am also a breastfeeding mother. I have a son who is 10-month-old suffering from malnourishment.
On Friday, a 5-month-old Palestinian baby suffering from malnutrition died in her mother's arms. The death of Zainab Abu Halib occurred due to starvation after 21 months of Israeli restrictions on aid. The baby was brought to the pediatric department of Nasser Hospital on the same day as she became one of the enclave's latest hunger victims. United Nations says Gaza is on the brink of running out of the specialized therapeutic food needed to save the lives of severely malnourished children.
In July alone, the first 2 weeks of July, we reached 5,000 children facing malnutrition, acute malnutrition in Gaza, which is a huge increase since the ceasefire in February. These numbers are just drawing a very dark picture that really puts the light on the dire situation of food insecurity in the Gaza Strip.
Since October 7, 2023, Israel's offensive on Gaza has killed over 59,700 people, most of them women and children. Relentless airstrikes and a full siege have reduced much of the Strip to rubble, while blocking food and medicine. Last year, the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, charging him with war crimes and crimes against humanity. Israel also stands accused of genocide before the International Court of Justice in a case that now carries even more urgency as babies starve and an entire generation hangs in the balance. Let's move on now. With tightly choreographed images and fiery rhetoric, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un celebrated what his regime calls a victory day, the anniversary of the Korean War armistice signed on July 27th, 1953. These are the images of Kim Jong-un on a highly symbolic tour across Pyongyang. He paid a visit to War Martyrs Cemetery and War Museum. He bowed before the statue of his grandfather and founder of the state, Kim Il-sung. In a statement released by North Korea's state media, Kim Jong-un declared that his nation will achieve victory in anti-US showdown and promised to build a rich country with a strong army. Kim Jong-un has made his intentions to build a world-level naval force clear. However, the goal seems far away from reality for the North Korean leader. One of the newly built destroyers was damaged during a botched attempt to launch it into the water on its first try. North Korea's first true diesel-electric ballistic missile submarine is not yet operational. Satellite imagery acquired several weeks ago shows that it has not yet been put underwater for long voyages. The project was launched way back in September 2023. The Victory Day commemorates the agreement signed between North Korea, United States and China. The armistice brought to an end 3 years of brutal conflict on the Korean peninsula. The 38th parallel that divided North Korea and South Korea is still considered to be an active war zone. North Korea frames it as a day of national pride. Meanwhile, it holds less significance in South Korea. This year's observance comes amid a sharp escalation in Pyongyang's global military posture as it increasingly throws its weight behind Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Despite sanctions and restrictions on his regime, Kim Jong-un continues to maintain a powerful grip on power. But beyond the boundaries, he is also making efforts to create a space for himself in the global arena.
김정은 동지를 노광철 동지, 정경택 동지,
Decimos fuerte y lejos. Mientras existe el mundo, no acabará la fama y la gloria de México, Tenochtitlan. El legado de Tenochtitlan no es ruina ni nostalgia, es semilla, es esperanza.
Allí esperaremos y daremos encuentro a toda clase de gente.
Que sintetiza rasgos de nuestra expresión colectiva.